Well, hello again and welcome to our reading of Acts of the Apostles. We're into chapter 5 and verse 7. This is the second part of this rather unhappy story of Ananias and Sapphira. Again it taught there, and it came to pass that, or perhaps when there was a diastema. Now, a diastema is a funny word. It can be used in music for a musical interval. It's used in the Septuagint for an interval of distance, but here it's used for an interval of time. So it came to pass that when, understand, there was an interval of time of 3 hours, his wife, I should say, also entered in, not knowing what had taken place. So this is a participle from oida, and it's eidoia. It's a feminine participle, so it's eidos, doia, dos. So not knowing, to gegonos. This is a perfect neuter participle from ginomai, that which had taken place. So we get lots of uses of participles here, good practice with our participles. And Peter, having answered her, even though she hasn't asked any question, tell to me if ap edos there, this is second person plural, in fact, from apodidomai. It means to sell. So tell me if the two of you, so it's you plural, so it's not a dual, but there were the two of you, if you plural sold the land tosutu, genitive of price, for such and such an amount. So for such an amount, genitive of price. And she said, nigh, yes, tosutu, for such a price. And Peter, there's no verb here, but we have to understand, said to her, Te hoti, why is it that? And that's the same expression, in fact, we had earlier when Peter says to Ananias, why have you done this, placed this matter in your heart? So why is it that son ephanethe, you have, well, it's probably impersonal here. So it was agreed, humin, among the two of you, to tempt, from peirasdo, to test the Spirit of the Lord. So to put the Spirit of the Lord to the test. So why is it that it was agreed? This is from sun and that phone. So we get the word symphony, in fact, from this. Why is it that it was agreed to the two of you to put the Spirit of the Lord to the test? Behold, the feet of those thapson tone. This is from that thapson root we had up here, to bury. This is the aorist participle, genitive plural, of the ones having buried your husband. They are, I have to understand, are epite thura, they are at the door, and ex oisusin, this is the future from Pharaoh. So it's Pharaoh, oiso is the future, and this is from ek, Pharaoh, to carry out. So they will carry you out also. Epesen, parakrama is immediately, it's an adverb. So immediately she fell at his feet, and ex epsuxen, that's that verb we had before, she expired, so she died. She gave up the ghost, as the old translations say. And the young men, having entered in, Huron, aorist from Heurisco, they found her necran, dead. They found her dead, and ex enenkantes, the same verb we had before in regard to her husband, and carrying her out, this is from ekenphero, ethapsan, they buried her pros ton. Well, it's the expected dative here, but it's beside her husband is the meaning. You probably would expect pros plus the dative, but you don't get that often in New Testament Greek with the dative case. So, but it just means beside her husband. Kai egeneto, and there was phobos, fear, and megas, there was great fear, upon all the ecclesia. Now at this stage I think we can translate this as church by this point of time, upon the whole church and upon all those hearing, present participle, these things. Dear, and the subject here is Semea kai terra tapola, and there occurred signs and many wonders among the people through the hands of the apostles. Notice we get neuter plural subject, singular verb, as it should be. Luke tends to follow that rule, whereas other New Testament writers don't, or often don't. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It varies. Kai son, and they and all were homothumadon. We've seen that one before. This is one of Luke's favourite adverbs. They were all of one mind. They were all of one mind in the Stoa of Solomon. But of the rest of the remaining ones, it's not quite clear who these were, but of the rest, no one, etolma, this is imperfect from tolmao, it's an alpha contract verb, no one dared kolasthai autois. Now, kolao in classical Greek has more of the sense of to glue, to attach. So here it's in the middle, so to attach them, to attach themselves to them. In other words, they perhaps kept their distance from them to some extent. But the people, emegalunen, autus, well, it's magnified them, perhaps held them in high regard. It's probably the best way of translating it. The people held them in high regard. But more, so those believing in the Lord, a plethe, multitudes, this is the plural of plethos. So this is from plethos. This is from plethos. Now for these, it's a third declension neuter noun. And so all of these third declension neuter nouns, the stem ends in epsilon, and it's a neuter noun, so we're adding an alpha in the neuter plural, and then that of course contracts to give you an eta. So you get pleth there. So literally multitudes of men and women believing in the Lord, all the more pros etithento were added. This is from prostithemi. Prostithemi is to add. It's a word used in Greek arithmetic as well, to add things, as prostithemi. So there were added more, a multitude of men and women believing in the Lord. Hosti plus infinitive, with the result that, well, either even or also here, they ekpherain, they carried out those who were sick into the plateas. The platea is the street, but it's a wide street, as opposed to a rume, which is a little lane. So they carried them out into the square. In modern Greek, a platea is the public square. So they carried them out into the streets, those who were sick, and again after hostia plus infinitive, tithanai from tithami, they placed them on klinarion. This is a diminutive from kline of bed, so on little beds, and krabatone, stretches, possibly a Macedonian word, this one, in order that the shadow of Peter passing by might overshadow any one of them, so that Peter's shadow might touch them as he was going. Sun erkata, and the multitude of those from those cities, perics, which is round about or in the vicinity, this is a classical word, were gathered together. So they were gathered together also, the multitude, it's probably from those cities round about, Jerusalem, bringing asthenes, literally those who are weak, but if you're weak, you're often sick, so those who are sick, kai oklumenus. This is a funny word, it's from okleo, it means troubled or vexed, and it's found only in Acts in the New Testament, but it's a rare word that does occur in medical writers. So another one of these hints that from that tradition that Luke was medically trained. So for those who were troubled or vexed from evil spirits, from unclean spirits, hoitines, who all of them were healed. So funny use. So, and it's something like they, all of them, in fact, were healed. It's that use of hoitines, a bit like quippy in Latin. So all of them, in fact, were healed. And that's the end of that little section.